Slam. Support life and music.
Slam, number 46. This episode, we stand in union, we stand with Bobby Blitz of Overkill, legendary singer, the 80s, 90s, and all the 2000s. Talks a lot about their legacy and about the struggles of life on the road. Quote from this episode: "I'm grateful to have lived my life in Levi's and motorcycle boots." Keep listening, hear what it's all about. I remember here. What's up, everyone? Jack Mangan. You know me from Support Life and Music. That's where we are right today. Support Life and Music. You know me from that guy over there, Rich Catino's MetalAsylum.net. I also hang around sometimes, do stuff for the Metal Hall of Fame. Sometimes Jimmy K lets me in the door at the Metal Voice. Shout out to those guys. But yeah, that's me. Just already mentioned his name. What's up, Rich?
What's up? What's up, Bobby? So, Rich Catino, I'm back here from Metal Asylum, and I write for Brave Words and Sea of Tranquility. I do a cool segment called The New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal also. So check that out. And it's December. We're about 9 days from Christmas. And today we are joined by one of our favorite thrash bands and the singer of that band, right, Jack?
Oh yeah. We won't compliment you too much, Bobby, but
But it's true though. You are definitely one of our favorites and
yeah,
one of our top 3 favorite thrash bands. So
this is Christmas ass kissing.
No, it's all insults after this though, Bobby. But for now we'll compliment you now. But yeah, the rest of it's gonna be insults.
Later comes a critique, but it's great to see you both, especially being here with another Jersey boy. Fantastic. And Merry Christmas to you guys and to everybody who is tuning in and streaming this.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. Actually, remember ex-Jersey guy out here. I'm in Phoenix now, but it counts a little bit. I got the Jersey Metal shirt on. So
Jersey guy.
Yeah. Tribute to
look at
Alan.
you. I was gonna wear mine tonight.
Alan Tecchio. Good stuff. Oh, there you go. So you got New York going, motherfucker.
Oh, cool.
All right. All right. Well, anyway, this is like Rich was saying, this is Bobby Blitz been important part of my musical upbringing. Seriously, Metal Mayhem, Lance and Metal Walt and John Verno just they had Bobby on to talk about 40 years, the 40th anniversary of Feel the Fire, the first full-length album. Again, he's seen some shit. He survives a lot of shit and has really been there through a lot. So I don't know. I don't know where to start, but how does it feel having Feel the Fire being 40 years ago? How do you even process that?
Well, it's the norm now for me to process it. This is not just, and I've said this in the past, it's not just a career, but it's a life, it's a lifestyle. I was a metalhead before I was the dude in Overkill. So for me, it's, and I think a lot of people see that's natural for me. So, I have a great love and, I suppose I'm grateful to be able to have lived my life in Levi's and motorcycle boots. It's just, it's just the place I always wanted to be and the place I felt most at home. So when we talk about Feel the Fire for 40 years, and I remember doing that interview with John and Metal Walt and Carl Kennedy, he chimes in from the Rods and we're talking. So I'm doing it 40. Carl's doing it, 55 by this point, So wow. This is something, this metallic end of our lives or this type of music is just very, it's non-disposable. It's something that has transcended generations, and that to me is where its value is. That it's not just flavor of the day stuff, but more so lifestyle and lifetime for many people.
Excellent.
Yeah, you guys invented it. That's why everybody's around still.
All those bands. There's a ton of those bands around, and that's just amazing. And I guess it probably starts at the top tier with a band like Metallica, because we always look at them as really, maybe they're not the originators of it, but for sure they're the first gigantic splash of it. So it's it's always good to see all that, as it trickles down to even people like ourselves.
Yeah.
I have a tying question because Jack with Slam, it's support life and music. So about the music end of it, an album like Feel the Fire, since it's 40 years old, do you guys have do the rights to the album revert back to you guys? Like, what's your place in control of that album, if anything?
No, we don't have control of that. That was sold in perpetuity at the beginning, and owned by Megaforce. They've always been really upfront with that, and they've always tried to, I don't know. I mean, when they do something new, they involve us, whether it be production or whether it be, a new format they're going to be selling it at, a new vinyl or something like so. But that's Missy and Megaforce's deal.
Right.
Even the stuff that followed that went to Atlantic. I mean, Johnny Z had signed a distribution deal with Atlantic when we were on like our second record, which was Taking Over. And there was like a 30-year deal law where it reverts back to the writers if it becomes, there you go.
So that refers to this
it
box
doesn't
set.
become yes,
So-
that's the one.
Right.
That's the Atlantic years, right?
Hey everyone, it's Doro Pesch here, and please support live and music. And I love you. Keep on rocking, stay metal, and all the very best. Mwah. This was Doro.
So you were saying about this Atlantic year set. So you said that doesn't revert back to you guys for a reason?
Well, yes, because if it was non-active product, it would have. But at like 29 and a half years, they made it all active product again. And that's why that Atlantic Years was released. It was their right to do so. But they did very little with it for years. I wasn't very happy with the whole situation. And they were like, come on, you got to promote this. I was like, get fucked. You did nothing all these years with this stuff, and now you want it because it was coming to us.
And it's just the paper sleeves too. It's no booklets or anything like that.
Yes, that one.
So they don't throw you a bone, Bobby? Like you guys don't get any residuals when these new box sets sell?
I mean, of course we do. I mean, we get writing royalties.
Okay.
I mean, it's you have to. I mean, I suppose if there's any with regard to them wanting to release it right before the rights reverted back to us, there was a lot of money invested in this, but it was 1980s money, which was a lot of money as compared to actually 2025 money. So I think it's based on recoupment. The shit just never recouped because it was giant money. I mean, they were looking for the next big thing all the time. So I mean, it's not just us. I mean, it's like there's 24 bands out there that have fallen into this category. So the Atlantic Years was, we would have had the rights to those records if they didn't do that. If they didn't do that release, well, like within a year, like every year, another one would have came back to us, but they grabbed it from Taking Over forward.
So as far as the music business, the end of it, then, if it's not the physical format, something like this, what about streaming and MP3s?
Are we talking about getting paid or?
Yeah, like your guys have been around for 40 years. So if it's not the physical format, if it gets reissued so much,
Sure.
How does the streaming and the MP3 end of it work towards your benefit?
Well, I mean, it shows up in royalties, but I mean, you still have to chase it down. It's by no means the easiest thing to chase down. I'm obviously from the tangible product era. That's where I started, where somebody could hold in their hand something.
Yeah.
It's also I think it's also a weird thing for a band that's been here at our length to understand streaming versus what airwaves were. Though we were never a radio band, we had received we had received royalty based on metal shows, Headbangers Ball, that kind of stuff. This was airwaves kind of stuff. Now, streaming is an absolutely different understanding, but those original contracts were done based on airwaves. So you have to kind of dive deep to get the whole thing. Yeah. I think there was just a thing with Gene Simmons on the at the Kennedy Awards with regard to people being paid for performance, writing, streaming. I mean, there was a whole bunch of different little things that he had touched on, which, I mean, that's good, but I mean, somebody's got to really change the law. I mean, the last law that I remember that was really changed with regard to this or institution that showed itself was something called Sound Exchange, which was, I think it was a Bill Clinton era thing. And, he made sure, or, his thing was like, people are not getting paid for performing on records. So even though I'm, for instance, one of the writers with Dee Dee Verney since like 1991, I wasn't being paid for performance. But then again, like a guy like Jason Bittner or a guy like Dave Lynch wasn't being paid for performing on the record, even though we paid them to perform on the record. They weren't being paid every time that record was spun. And that now has become something, or has been now for, over a 25-year period where, people are being paid, through that. And I also obviously streaming pays us. It's just a whole different configuration. It's, it's nothing that was signed in the early days. It's signed now. Yeah. So, it's signed from, for instance, my Nuclear Blast contracts onward.
Interesting. Yeah, good.
We actually, we talk a lot about streaming on this show too, because it's part of surviving this business. I mean, I'm not asking about your money, but like, how comfortable are you with the money that comes in from streaming? Like, is it enough to buy a sandwich, enough to buy a car? Like what can people expect from streaming income?
Oh, I can't say it, in a dollar amount. It exists in every royalty check to some degree. Sure. Much of it, with us, the way we do deals, it's much more the old school way of doing deals, that we're looking for money in the upfront, as opposed to a newer band who, might have, people who do not just social media, but that monitor the streaming. We have the record company monitor the streaming, get paid in advance, and then that goes toward the recoupment of what they paid us. Whereas let's say a band does like a 360 deal or something, or does a deal where they're on their own, they know where to go get that streaming from. I mean, that's 100% possible. But we take the money like we did in the old days when we were on Megaforce Records. We'll take the upfront as opposed to having to hunt it down. That being said, probably we take less from the streaming directly than the record company does.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Rich, good. I know you got more questions. Rich, you got one more, and then I'll turn us in another direction. But go ahead, Rich.
Okay. So then, similar to that question, then, so with Nuclear Blast, with the more recent records, was it good to have physical product then, like vinyl and CDs that were out there and things? Because us fans that grew up with this music, a lot of us still buy that stuff. So was it good to release it in that format, or would it have been better to go the streaming and MP3 route?
Well, I think for the, if you can hear in my voice that I don't completely understand how to go track down the streaming. I mean, I'm not going to sit and explain to you, I know exactly what to do. I don't. So I'm like one of those guys that gets to see those different formats and hold it in their hand. My hand, they would do like a double gatefold vinyl. They would do a cassette. They would do a CD. There would also be a stream. So there was so many different formats that a person who's into this band or a band like this band can experience or purchase.
Right.
So for us, it helped a lot because vinyl started making a comeback. Yeah. And in metal, vinyl made a comeback because of, labels like nuclear blast. I mean,
Yeah.
I have every Overkill record from, oh my gosh, from like the Killing Kind, that when we sold that stuff all the way in, 10 years ago to Nuclear Blast, that we have all that stuff on vinyl now, and
Awesome.
again, 180 grams, solid shit. And, people who are into this shit supported this shit. So, and still do. I mean, that's one of the things, I think the beauty of this is that the beauty of the underground is that the light shines in the underground based on the people who hold that light up for everyone else. And that's the people who purchase this shit and actually support it to go to the next place. When it comes to money in general, I mean, is it a living? Sure it is. I mean, it's a pretty decent living. It's not ridiculous, but there's an understandable segment of it with regard to me not being brought up. I'm not a social media guy. I'm not an internet whiz. I mean, I do it like everybody else. I do it like my grandpa did it. I'm just the next one. I send emails, I look at this, I make my music on it. I can't go track down these streaming royalties. So we pay somebody to do it, and they give us a bunch of money in the front to do it. So it kind of works out for us that way.
So that's good. The physical product still is profitable on some level, because so many people that are artists say that they have to make their money on the road, and they can't make so much money at all on physical.
Yeah, I think some people. Well, we've also always paid attention. It's not like we know that. I think one of the things, you have to be smart enough to know that you don't know everything, and to have other people be able to take that lead for you. So we make money on streaming. I'm not saying we don't make money on streaming, but I mean, I know younger bands that they don't let a nickel get out of their fucking grasp, because they've been brought up in this era. The dude is 30. You know what I'm saying? The fucking guy knows about streaming. When he started understanding the World Wide Web and everything with regard to the internet and streaming, he was a young man, and now he's a man who's 30 who says, that's my nickel. That's my dollar. He knows how to go get it. I talked to an attorney. He's like, bro, you need somebody over in some of those countries in Europe. He's just a good friend of mine. We've been friends since he wasn't an attorney. He was just an Overkill fan. He would show up in Japan. He would show up in Denmark when he was a college student. And I never knew him. He was just like, somebody sent me a message like, there's a dude outside named Mark. He wants a ticket. He's from Jersey. I'm like, who is this? I walked out. I'm like, who are you? He goes, you don't know me, but. And I was like, the balls. But I gave him a ticket. We became friends. But he's recently telling me, he goes, you need somebody in France. You need somebody in the Czech Republic. You need somebody over here. You need somebody to go get that stuff for you. Now, I think the younger man knows where to get that. I think the older dude needs that guy, like my friend's telling me. You got to go get that. There's still money on the table for you in these places. He goes, it's not a ton, but you start putting it all together, it starts becoming, a more sizable amount.
Nice. This is great stuff, man. I think it's also good for anyone watching, like younger kids or musicians watching, to kind of get a sense of how things have changed. And let me ask, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Bobby, but like you were like 18 when you signed your first contracts with Megaforce and with those guys, but you were also, that was in the 80s. I mean, there was a different world. Like, I think an 18-year-old kid now is more aware that the record company is not to be trusted, that you need a lawyer to look over the stuff. Do you feel like what other advice? I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is what has changed, and what do young musicians need to know when they're getting into this, dealing with record labels or not, or going in the indie route? What do they need to know?
Well, I think that you bring up a good point, but conversely, the record companies are more trustworthy in this era, because they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to do a 360 deal with you. We're going to do a 50-50. We'll promote you. We'll make your tangible product. We'll go capture your streaming. So I don't think that. I think that when we came in to the music industry, I mean, the good thing for us is we were picked up by a small New Jersey label. Everybody says, oh, Megaforce was this and that. It's like Megaforce was running herself out of a house in fucking Old Bridge. You'd walk into that place, there's papers all over the dining room table. And everybody's like, yeah, but they found Metallica. And I would say this too: Metallica traveled 3,000 miles to get signed.
Right.
How come they weren't even recognized in California? You know? So it was a whole different kind of a family atmosphere, where you'd walk into that house, everybody gave you a kiss on the cheek, kind of a thing. So I think even though Megaforce got involved with, giant labels, like the Wea family, like Atlantic,
Right.
they were still ran it like a small label. So for us, it became a learning process that was day to day. You could ask questions to Johnny and Marcia. You could figure it out that way. Was there money misappropriated or spent? Probably. It was the fucking before the internet. But I think that we were at the end of what was called excess. When record company execs in the big places were signing bands like Poison and Motley Crue, and they tell these, long stories as long as your arm of debauchery and cocaine and strippers, I mean, sure, that happens even with regular dudes, you know what I mean? But it wasn't perpetuated by the record company. So I think we were brought up in a really good era with regard to that. But I think the record companies of today that are trying to, I don't know, nurture younger bands, or they see something amazing in a younger band, I do think that they're just more fair. I don't think they can't be more fair. There's no age of excess anymore. It doesn't exist where a guy's walking around with an 8-ball of coke in his pocket. And it's just not the norm for me. I ran into it a few times, but it wasn't the norm.
So, all right, well, that's the perfect setup, Bobby. So I wanted to bring up, all right, so, and sorry, there's going to be more compliments, so I'll reel it in. I'll follow up with insults after this. But, the song Skull Crusher from Years of Decay, what's that?
Hold on, I got to do a line. Hold on.
Okay.
Just joking.
He's joking. It's a jerky guy. Yeah, but now I can tell you some stories of shit we've seen even on this show. But like the song Skull Crusher it's a masterpiece, and lyrically and musically it's a master. It's not the only Overkill masterpiece, but it's brilliant. And I think the story it tells is brilliant about, I mean, the metaphor that comes right through for me is just the dealing with substance abuse and the dangers, and you're gonna, you'll be lying underground 60 years too early. So you've seen a lot of that. You just alluded to it. You've seen a lot of that shit, and I know it's affected your life too, man. So like, as much as you're comfortable saying, tell us about how you survive that, and how you get through that shit, and how you persist through that, and don't become another person who kind of is buried underground because of it.
Well, I think, I mean, you bring up a good point, because it's, I think one of the things about this music, whether it be us or whether it be our contemporaries, was that there was an unbridled honesty with how people live their lives and how they didn't want to live their lives, and I was exposed to, all sorts of stuff, and had, of course, dabbled in many different drugs, and, but I don't know. I never had the attraction. I never wanted to marry something that put me into, where I became submissive to it, where I was the one who became submissive to, to this chemical, or, even weed. I mean, I was like, I went to college in the Bronx, and by my sophomore year, I wasn't smoking weed. I was just selling it, And so it was like, for me, it was a way to understand the business of it. I just didn't like what it did to me. I just didn't like the, not being in control of myself, So I think that in the thrash genre, I think that I'm not unique. I think I'm more the norm, because I don't know a lot of dudes in the thrash genre who got swallowed up by that stuff, And for me, it was just natural. I'm just like, yeah, I tried it. Nah. If it was there, I did it. Even in the early days of Overkill, I would do it. But eventually, I'm like, nah. I mean, I don't think I've done a line. I'm 66. I don't think I've done a line of fucking cocaine since I was in my late 20s. So I mean, it's not like something that wrapped its arms around me and gave, and took the possibility of what a career could have been at that time. So it's not my strength. It was just more, I just didn't have the attraction to something like that. I suppose it could have been my strength because I was like, fuck this. I'm going to give up what I'm doing now for this stuff. Fuck that. I mean, listen, I've been fucked up. I've been in lots of fights. I was one of those, beer drinking, hell raising motherfuckers, and I used to come out and stage in Jersey or New York and go, I know half of you by name, the other half I threw up on, and it was the, to some degree, the honest truth. I remember telling a story getting blasted in Lemore's by a beer mug by this dude, just had this problem with me, and boom, he tapped me on the shoulder and knocked me out. I was drinking with Pete Steele. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? I'm laying on the floor, I'm looking up, watching Pete Steele handle the rest of it. Was it fun? Yes. But was there wasn't a debilitating habit at any time that made it ridiculous. I mean, I stopped drinking for a 10-year period because we managed the band. I mean, that was the reason I stopped drinking, not because I had DWIs or I was ended up in jail. We managed the band. I didn't want to be that dude when I was sitting at a meeting who said what he meant and meant what he said, and not had people, say, oh, he's kind of a drunk or he's kind of a fucking cokehead, So I think I'm very lucky to have not have been enraptured by chemicals, for instance.
You keep on slamming because it's a matter of life and death, and by doing this, you are saving so many lives.
So having something like Slam to be that kind of a resource.
Hi, I'm Vern Bell here with Slam with Jack Mangan.
There's a great organization out there. It's called Support Life and Music.
Slam! Da 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 da.
Slam, Support Life and Music. I'm my friend Jack Mangan.
When you told me what you were doing, I was really on board with it, and I really want to support it because it's close to my heart.
Please support Slam, because everybody needs a hand up every once in a while, and this organization is the right one to do the job.
I think what you're doing is great with your organization and trying to address it.
Slam, Support Life and Music.
Everybody, David Olson here, and you should support Slam.
Was there ever a time that you thought maybe partying affected your voice? And then you're like, okay, I got to slow down.
No, it was never partying. It was cigarettes. I mean, I smoked. I mean, you knew me when I smoked. I mean, I was like a chain smoker. That was like my biggest addiction was like I had that that nervous energy, that kind of ADD boy thing, you put me on the stage, like I could smoke while I was singing, And that had gotten to a point where it became, I guess that is a chemical, and I did wrap my arms around it, where that became something that was going to eventually hurt me. But as soon as I dropped it, and it's been like 15 years at this point, it's been gone. My voice cleaned up. You know what I mean? It's just like you can even hear it. I can hear it on the other records that it never went away. That it's actually I'm not going to say it's better, because some people like Jack will say Skull Crusher's got this, great kind of vibe to it. And sure, that gritty, smoky voice is great, but now I can sing wherever I want to. I mean, listen, I'm 66. We don't drop the keys for me. You know what I mean? We don't sing in D. We do everything in the key that they were written in. And this is because I stopped smoking and still warm up my voice, etc.
Nice. Well, also, Bobby, Power Surge. Sorry, that's a different band. Power Slave. Power Surge is a big one for me too, and that's a completely different Bobby Blitz voice. But I love that voice too. I think that's How does something like that feel to do at 66? Something that's kind of so high and intense. Something like Power Surge.
Or with that, how about a song like Solitude also, which is really, I love that singing too from you.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one, Rich?
Well, Jack said Power Surge, and then I said Solitude.
Okay. Okay, interesting. So I'm smoking on both of them. there was a difference in my voice back then. The Taking Over record, when I went out and did, we did Feel the Fire, right? And we toured with Anthrax overseas. It was called the Metal Hammer Roadshow.
Right.
Then we came back. We started doing the Taking Over record, and Slayer offered us something, and we ran out to Seattle and did the Slayer tour. And then I came. So in the interim, I started taking singing lessons because I had blown my voice out between the two tours. And I went to a guy down on West End Avenue, like up in the 70s, a guy named Don Lawrence. And he did Tony Harnell, he did Dee Schneider. I mean, he had a long list of successful singers, but singers not like me. And my thing was, I don't want to lose what I have. The Taking Over record is 100% Don Lawrence. It's probably the most different vocals I've ever done. Feel the Fire in that. But after that, it changed. And it changed because he taught me how to sing like, my body and, my machinery and my tools would be the most natural doing it. But that was the whole singing point. Like from doing, Power Surge or Solitude later on was based on Don Lawrence. But as soon as I relax, I can do Solitude anytime. I can still do it to this day. Power Surge sounds a little bit more gritty than I did it on the record, but it's for sure something that's not, they're all in my wheelhouse. There's one or two songs when it comes to breathing that are not in my wheelhouse, like stuff we did in the middle era off of, Underground and Below or something, where it's not 100% in my wheelhouse. But those two that we mentioned are fine for me.
All right, cool. I got two more. If you got time for two more from me and one or two more from Rich, you got time, Bobby?
Whatever you dudes need, whatever you need, I'm totally fine.
All right. Well, then clear your calendar. We're gonna go for a couple more hours then. No, I'm just fucking with you.
Good.
So let me see. Well, I mean, you brought up Peter Steele. So we had Muncie Ricci was a guest on the show, and he told a story about this singer who was just a mess. And I was listening, I was like, I'm not going to call him out on this, but he's got to be talking about Peter Steele. So I mean, you've seen that kind of thing. Like, what is your advice? I guess what I'm getting at is, what's your advice for anyone, whether a musician or anyone who's just that depressed and who's kind of like feeling at the end of the rope, or maybe even feeling like suicidal, feeling like they can't move on? What is your advice for people to kind of persist and keep going?
Yeah, that shit. I mean, that shit is like, it's almost like the secret silent killer, isn't it? I mean, when you look at like Trevor or something from, Black Dahlia, I mean, the kid, he was a great kid. He had a great fucking personality and he had a great fucking voice. I mean, I did Metal Allegiance with the guy one year and I got to meet him. I was like, what a fucking great kid this kid is, I do think, our era, I mean, these are guys, you're talking about dudes born in the 60s when you're talking about Peter, It wasn't cool to talk about your mental health issues, it just wasn't. I do think the modern era, because I know my girlfriend, has children and it's an issue for them. The issue is to be transparent about anxieties and modern mental health issues. That's important. We have to remember that people that are the younger adults or in younger bands at this point, they were the first ones that were in school hearing gunshots, for instance. They were the first ones that had that kind of ridiculous fucking event happen to them, where if you hear something drop on a tile floor and it makes that gunshot sound and they jump or they hit the deck, because it's different from our thing. Our people never talked about it. So I'm not going to speak for Peter Steele, but he came from, relatively my era. I think the new era talks about it, which I think is a great thing. And I think that they have resource to talk about it, and they're all on the same page. So I don't think there's as much fear or showing of weakness, which I would say from my era. You don't talk about that shit. You fucking get the job done. You push through. But I think there was a lot of casualties because of that mentality. And I only hope and I pray that this modern era, or the bands that do have this, they open up their hearts, souls, minds, and and ask for help when it's necessary. And I think what I see, or at least what I know, is that is more the trend of the current day.
Love it. That's great stuff. All right, Rich, I'll toss it over to you.
Just an observation.
So you said you're
No, that's perfect, man. It's perfect.
So you said you're 66 and you're still out there performing all guns blazing. So what are you doing health-wise to keep that energy up? Is there suggestions that you do like a protein shake or something, or exercise? What's part of your regimen that keeps you healthy and able to do this thrash metal at this age?
Younger girlfriend. I can't catch her. I'm constantly running after her. I can't catch her.
So is that Biff from Saxon? That's his secret too.
I'm not a fast food dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, my girlfriend's younger. Obviously, I'm not talking like 40 years younger. I'm talking like 8 years younger. You met her the other night, Rich, and we do a lot of things. I mean, it's just like we do stuff. I have like a German Shepherd. You can't keep a German Shepherd in a house. You got to go do stuff with it. It's like we're doing stuff today. So we do stuff, and we go into the mountains. We hike around the lakes. I don't know. I think it's not something that I have a plan for. It's just like the way of life. I don't like junk food, and I mean, I'm having cod tonight with olives on it. And
that's great.
Italian wedding soup. It's not a shitty. Yeah, I don't put myself in that position, but I don't think about what am I going to do when I go on the road. I mean, I'm still wearing, I got a little bit of a paunch, but for Christ's sake, again, 66. It's not like I can still ride a motorcycle. I can still, I can still walk 6 miles. I can still have a great time. I still go on trips with, I don't need somebody helping me with anything. And I think that's, somewhere between just how I think about the way life should be because of the way I like it. And then doing those things daily just helps me to stay in pretty good shape with regard to performing with Overkill.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a great question, Rich. Yeah, good stuff. All right, I mean, kind of one of the last ones.
I got to do another. I got to do it. I got to do another line. Hang on.
So that's the secret.
Yeah. So it's vitamin C.
One thing, this one comes with a story. So we were on with you, Rich and me, and we had like a thing going where we had a rotating cast of people coming in and out. And I introduced you to somebody, and I was probably maybe getting a little bit carried away with the compliments about you. I was like, hey, Bobby Blitz, meet this guy. And I was like, Bobby's one of the great singers of all time. He's, great singer. And you're kind of like rolling your eyes at me. And then when I was done, you were like, yeah, well, I still mow my own lawn. So I thought that was just a great moment of humility and just being a real person. So and that's kind of where I'm getting at is that a Jersey thing? Is that just a Bobby thing? Like what is that where you're kind of like shirking off like the accolades and the the over the top compliments and kind of just be like, no, I'm a regular guy.
Well, I think, well, for sure, I do think it's a Jersey thing. But this thing is other places too. I mean, I just said something almost exactly like that. It was just somebody had talked to me and I was like, yeah, I mean, that's nice, but my driveway is 100 yards long and it's a hill and we got 6 inches of snow. I'm on a snowblower. I'll talk to you later. So it keeps me grounded for sure. But, you know, I've always felt that being part of this was much more important than being above and separate of it. You know, that I always felt the buzz of what this scene had by being part of it, you know. I mean, I suppose there's tons of stories. I was hanging out with this dude, Walter White. He played with I think it was Deceased he played with Fowley, you know, and we were out on like one of our first tours, and Walter said he was dating a girl that, you know, my girlfriend knows, and was like, boy, King Fowley always speaks highly of you. I'm like, really? Why is that? He goes, because on that Slayer tour, you were the only guy who came out, sat in the hood of the car with a six-pack, drank beer, and listened to their new demo. So I'm just saying, I kind of feel that that's the thing, you know, that's not something I do because I want that story to be told 20 years or 40 years later. I do it because that's more important to me than, you know, a lot of the other bullshit that's, you know, that some other people think are important. I just don't, you know, I'm not the security guy. I'm not that. I mean, if I can't handle my own problems, I can't handle my problems. I'd rather be with the dudes and the chicks than be separate from them. And I think that that's what gives me what appears to at least be humility, but just makes me feel like I'm one of the dudes. So
Nice.
Great. You know, I could ask questions for another 3 hours, but we should probably let you get back. You know, you said you got a driveway full of snow. We should let you get back to the snowblower. But
one quick question to wrap up. Can you give us a little overkill news? What do you guys got going on next year?
well, right now we're working on a tour. It's not announced right now, but it's supposed to be it's a nice little triple threat kind of a thing. It's going to start in March. Okay. It should be great. I just can't announce it because I'm not in a position to. We're going to have a record. I mean, we're 10 songs deep at this point. I'm going to work on it tonight because there's no hockey game on. I'm actually drinking out of my New Jersey Devils cup. This is the only cup we've had since, 2001.
Yeah, I got my mug too.
It's going to be a full year. We gotta make sure Dee Dee's happening. Hey?
What's that?
We got to make sure Dee Dee's happening to get all this stuff together. If not, well, I'm sure we'll make it. The studio will be fine. I mean, he does his other bands. It's totally different than, you know, punching holes in the floor, like I said earlier, because, I mean, he plays that bass as low as anyone ever in the history of metal. I mean, that shit sits right at his shoe tops, you know? And I think it's probably one of the reasons he has some bad shoulder, but it's going to be business as usual. Be a ton of new news coming out pretty soon. We're 10 songs deep. I expect to be recording by January, and let's see what happens from there.
Awesome. Great. By the way, I love Dee Dee's album. By the way, I love his swing album. I think it's great stuff. Seriously.
I really like it too. I'm insulted that he hasn't asked me to sing on it yet.
All right, well, Bobby Blitz, everyone from Overkill, and you know, it just again, I was going to say compliments, but I'm not. Fuck you, Bobby. Like, no, thanks. thanks for being on, Bobby.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a pleasure, man.
Great seeing both of you boys.
Yep. See you on the road next year.